Bugle Call is easily the best modern manga I've read. I can't even lie, I was surprised with how much this manga had me switching up my entire opinion of it. This was a manga that was recommended by the creator of Vinland Saga, and for very good reason. This story is about a musician who's a part of a mercenary band, but all he wants to do is play music all day, and he doesn't care about the violence, the killing, and the pillaging like all of his mercenary allies. And so this gives us a story where a main character isn't going to be doing a lot of fighting. Now, of course, I really thought this was kind of a gimmick, really, because it's been a trend in a lot of anime where we see a main character who's powerless or doesn't want to fight or do anything like that. And I thought I was going to get very tired of this idea. But he takes it and does it in a way that just really defies the expectations. Every time I thought I knew the story was going to be a certain way or do something or even like let alone be predictable, it was anything but that. So what makes this main character so special is because he has a tree branch growing out of the side of his head, and this gives him the ability to send signals to someone's brain from his music, and it allows them to see constellations in the sky, which lets them instantaneously change their formations in battle. So instantaneously being able to change your formation while you're on the battlefield, this is going to put you a step ahead of any other opposing force that you're going up against in warfare. And so he creates a huge dynamic when it comes to battles. He allows everyone to follow his lead, and his tactical genius lets him defeat even the strongest enemies, just because he's able to take advantage of his allies that don't have power. Me saying this, he allows regular human beings to go up against the Ramis, which are people who have, just like the main character, branches coming out of their heads, but they're granted with insane abilities such as luck, immortality, mirror powers. Just, it goes far beyond what you would expect. And the way he uses the powers in this series, the author is nothing short of genius. Especially with all the tactical advantages that the main character uses, I really was not vibing with him at first. And the premise, because I was like, okay, this is just going to be a balloons tower defense manga, alright? I was definitely thinking that, especially with how slow it was going, with a good portion of chapters, having them literally sit down and talk about debriefings and tactics. And my god, I was bored. And I was thinking, wow, when is this manga going to give me some kind of character dynamics, some kind of relationships between the main characters, learning their backstories? And it did that, and it did not hold back at all. And that is where this manga is at its strongest. If it's not giving you a gut-wrenching fight that has you biting your fingernails as much as I did, it has you connecting and loving all of the characters. And the main character, his development is by far, wow. I like seeing the way he changed in comparison to most characters that, you know, take the lead in these mangas that come out nowadays. This is a character who cares about nothing more than music, and slowly but surely, he starts to value other things in life. At first, he doesn't want to pledge allegiance to the priest, the clergy, at all, even though he's giving him the opportunity to follow his dreams. He's only working because he sees this as a means to an end, and finally show the world what he can do as a musician in a world that won't let him be one, a world where there's nothing but killing and pillaging. What place does music have there? And so he still shows everybody that compassion and beauty is still inside of their tragic world. And that's just the power of music. And so this has me very excited to see what an anime for this series would be like. Honestly, it might just be my most anticipated anime adaptation. I have to be so honest with you. Like, really, I was so bored because it was so slow in the beginning, but it's worth it. for those of you guys watching this video, definitely give it till chapter 8 if it's not hooking you. If chapter 8 and up aren't enough, I don't know what to say, man. But it was just masterful writing. Like, I can't lie, this series is nothing short of art. And these are the kind of mangas that I appreciate the most. It's not just a manga, it is art in its purest form. Whether it's the many characters and world building and setup that he has going on, making the entire encompassing problem. While reading it, it makes you actually care and you want to figure out the mysteries. Like I said before, I was thinking this was Balloon's tower defense, the manga, because they do have these towers that they end up defending. And what is the significance of these towers? The mystery of these towers was the main thing keeping me reading and interested, not wanting to know what they are, why these people have branches out of their heads. But I was thinking, wow, is all this gonna be worth it just to find the answers to my questions? I was doubting it, but wow. The guy who made this is such an amazing writer, to say the least. And to give you examples of how amazing of a writer he is, the world building has so many different locations that are all being aspired and changed into different types of shapes and cultures and traditions, and you get engrossed in all of this. Whether it be the Miura Kingdom having their own political civil war between the Miurists and the Royal Kingdom that accepted the Rami inside of their threshold. Usually, they literally took advantage of her power, and they were using this to try and, you know, get more stronger in the hierarchy. Yet the people that were serving her on the battlefield loved the Rami and respected her to such a degree. I'm telling you, she was so powerful. She had she fights with a mirror, and you know what she'd do? She'd have every single person in the kingdom take a bow and arrow, shoot it inside of a mirror, and then she would hold her mirror, and then all those arrows would travel through her mirror, and she'd be taking on entire armies by herself. This blew my mind. I was actually excited and hyped seeing moments like this, and it gets so tense. And oh man, I couldn't hold back trying to talk about this manga anymore. Like, the characters and their relationships, I love it. The parallels between Zoe and losing her mother, and the Mirror Kingdom all wanting her mother back, and the idea of them both fighting each other, yet they find the common ground in the very fact that they both miss their mothers, and they're both doing exactly what they need to do to protect what they want to protect on the battlefield. And the potential for this gets even more crazy because our main character is the leader. He's always calling the shots, so all of the lives of every single soldier are in his hands. You can imagine what kind of grief and pain he's going to feel when one of his closest allies die. He even experiences a lot of selfishness when he's asked the question, do you mind if other soldiers die on the battlefield? And then he said, not really. And this brings in the idea that he only cares about the people closest to him. And so one of the blood Rami that is serving underneath him, he has a family, and he asks him, well, what about all the families of the soldiers you send to their deaths? It says a lot about the value of life, and this is a part of writing that I think is amazing. I love being left with a lot to think about, and there is just way more going on here. We have characters experiencing loss and coming to terms with losing their loved ones, yet certain plot points, which I'm not going to spoil because it's definitely worth looking at, they got to finally learn to let go and find their own purposes and meaning in life. Whether or not they can move on without their mothers, their sisters, their brothers, and what exactly pushes them. Another parallel I really did enjoy was Miura and Demi's. With Demi and her brother and her backstory, they were both forced to work on a farm, and they were trapped there practically living lives as slaves. Their lives weren't the worst, but it wasn't the best either, and her brother always had big dreams, with dreams going as insane as wanting to travel to the moon. And keep in mind, this is in the Middle Ages, where there's no concept of being able to move and make it up into the stars. Yet, what he did was, he wanted to be free. He wanted to escape and live life the way he wanted to. And so, one day, he follows his dream and he leaves this farm. Yet Demi, she stayed on the farm, and eventually she found a place to stay because the clergyman or the priest ended up buying her because of the branch growing inside of her head. Basically, using all of the Rami as tools, if you will. And so, he bought her and gave her a new lifestyle. And with that being said, the clergyman does actually go from town to town, place to place, picking up Rami as he sees fit. And so, he ends up picking up Miura, a guy who doesn't like to fight, a guy who does not want to risk his life, a guy who wants to live the way he wants to live. And so he tries to escape the estate that all of our main characters live on. Yet Demi is always stopping him, making it so that he can't leave. And she thinks about this and the amount of self-awareness she has as a character, and even within the writing, is really, really flexed here. She's no different than the people on the farm that would be stopping her brother trying to escape to live his dreams. Yet, she would all do this in the name of a greater good, and even question if not letting Miura leave the estate is even the best moral action that she had, because Miura would be just like her brother, and she would be no different than the men that would stop her brother from living his dream. There's a lot of substance and a lot to take away here with only 18 chapters out of this video. So, my God, it's insane. Like, there's like the land of mirrors where the Miura Rami resides and is taking it over because everyone believes in her powers and abilities, and where they worship the Rami as if they're gods, basically taking pride in these larger than life mystical human beings that have trees growing out of their heads and just celebrating their existence. And then we have the land of slaves, which is completely controlled by the empire and established by their inconsequential rule, where they take advantage of a Rami who clones himself. And so all of these slaves are a one-man army, all with his same memories, ideas, thought patterns, yet they're all different, maintaining their own wants and personalities, and they're still enslaved. Yet the difference between all these different kingdoms and a kingdom like the Empire is, a kingdom like the Empire, more or less, would offer people as human sacrifices, because these mystical towers that are just so, wow, they're just like, you can't really say much about them because there's still so much we don't know. They're puzzling, to say the least. There are religious groups that believe in the towers being a source of power. There's another group that would believe in that the branches that these towers grow on are the source of power, in which it's a lot. It really is a lot. I can't hold you. Like, there's still so much to learn from this manga, and there's just so many different characters just coming in, and I really thought it was just going to be nothing more than Kingdom with a guy who doesn't want to kill, and it was just so much more than that. It's easily, I'd say it's the best manga to come out this year. Easily. It's definitely been my favorite thing to read this year. I wanted to immediately show it to all of my friends, and I don't do that with most mangas because I know how fucking picky they are. But even as I go in depth, or at least try to, when explaining the religious continuity here between the Tower's followers and the people of the Oak, the world building still has so much more going on with it. Like, you guys really just have to read it. I haven't even talked about the fighting and the strategies and how the entire group of misfits just come together and make it so that they can all fight and prevent any of their loved ones' lives dying, and ultimately try and protect the world. At least that's what they're being told, because we don't know exactly what the priest's plans are, or even who he really is. So there's still the mystery of whether or not they're actually going to be saving the world, or what kind of secrets these towers have, and anything else. Yet these abilities are pretty stellar. Not in the fact that they're the craziest thing that you could think of, but in the way that they're used. Our main character, how he sends these signals to a person's brain. I mentioned Miura before, and I mentioned Demi. Miura would have the power to run at super speeds, and he would have one weakness here. He wouldn't be able to see anything that he would be running into. And so, we have Demi, which is a Rami that has the ability of sight. Now, normally it would be hard to see at nighttime, and so with her ability, she combines this with Ryuka's ability to make constellations. So at nighttime, Miura is able to follow these constellations and run through entire battlefields and cities, all while making sure he doesn't run into a cement wall and split his entire head open. And the creativity only gets even more wild. I'm telling you, they have Poppy using an ability where she can barely levitate anything except for boxes and, you know, objects that don't have that much weight, so she's practically useless. But she uses this ability on a bow and arrow, and she controls it and makes it weave and dodge trees until it finally homes in and hits its target. All compiled with the abilities of all their teammates. It just creates some of the most interesting, just wow, nail-biting scenarios I've read in so long. And it's only going to get more and more crazy as the stakes get higher and higher, with the thought of losing a battle just reminiscing in our main character's mind. I also enjoyed the villain and his entire stick with his daughter being a horrible parent. He just puts her in horrible situations where she's morally thinking about the consequences, and he's teaching her things that aren't really right. He's leading her onto a lifestyle that she might not even really enjoy. She finds enjoyment and love when it comes, and you know, even entertainment value in killing people, but this is because this is what she's being taught. And one thing that I do like about this manga is the way it talks about parenthood, and also just how parents can be a little more or less selfish. And you see how the trauma affects the many characters in this series, whether it's the Miura Rami or the main villain affecting his daughter. And you see her not liking killing people, but then he convinces her that it's a good thing to do. Or even with the Miura Rami being overprotective over her daughter, because when she lost her, she lost herself. And so this same mindset, she takes it to such a disgusting degree that she abuses the people that she does try to protect. And even her values are misconstrued, because one thing with her being the Miura Rami, their powers are normally described as to be something that they desire, something that's very akin to their personality. She was obsessive over beauty, and so of course she's going to be looking at herself in the mirror almost every single day. And so with her being such a larger than life character, an average man on the battlefield completely sweeps her off of her feet, because she's obsessed with the idea of being beautiful due to the trauma that her mother brought onto her, because she didn't really think that she was beautiful. She didn't think, she actually thought she was ugly and had nothing to offer. And little did she realize that she didn't love the Miura Rami because that wasn't her actual child. Yet the Miura Rami would still love this woman after all of the abuse, after all of the neglect, and everything in between. And so when this man approaches her and finally says that she's beautiful, she instantly starts a family with him. Then she asks her daughter the same question. What exactly do you like about me? And her daughter says her kindness. And of course, that might not have been the answer that she wanted. She might most likely wanted her daughter to say, your beauty. And so you get little side-eyed glances, subtle hints of a character's emotions. And this just it sets the tone so well because it makes you think, wow, does she actually appreciate what her daughter just said right now or not? And just wow. Just the main villain as well. I want to see so much more of that guy. He's a regular human with absurd abilities. And I'm pretty sure there's an explanation behind all of this that we're all going to get. There's so much more. There's just so much more here. It's great. This manga is, I don't want to seem like I'm overhyping it. It is perfect. It does everything right. It has the in-depth writing that, you know, advanced readers such as myself always want to see. On a surface level, it still maintains my attention, and there's just so many secrets and mysteries that it just keeps you wanting more, and not a single chapter lets up at all. And the characters are just so enjoyable that you just want to see more of them. I was upset when I got caught up because I just wanted to read it that much more. With this manga, you get the complete package. I can't say it any other way. Outside of maybe the pacing issues in the beginning, I mean, it's to be expected because the story does have to start up and get you accustomed to everything. Outside of that, probably being a little boring for some of you, I think Bugle Call has what it takes to probably be the next biggest manga. I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait for this one to get an anime. Take my word for it. Go out and read it now. It is that good. I'm not going as in depth as I want to, but that's because you just need to read it. You just need to read it. Maybe one day I'll make a video covering all the more little tidbit bits that are going on that I couldn't mention here, but read it. It's perfection. It's master class. This is what I expect out of a new manga. The creator of Vinland Saga knew exactly what he was recommending here. And just like him, I have to go out here and tell you to read it. Give Bugle Call its due flowers. Give it a chance. If it's not for you, completely understandable. But it's definitely a worthwhile investment. Thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, check out our Patreon down in the pinned comment below in the description. Feel free to also join our Discord and check out all the other manga reviews that I'm going to be showing on your screen right now. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if there are any mangas you want me to cover. And that's all.